I'm not a monster. I'm a human being. I'm not a bad person. I'm just sick. Those were the words of Richard Francis Cottingham, a psychopath who spread unimaginable fear in New York and New Jersey from 1967 to 1980. A staggering 13 years of gruesome murders that primarily targeted prostitutes. However, sometimes even teens and housewives weren't safe. I am not undervaluing the lives of the women who worked as prostitutes, but rather clarifying that this man was like wildfire. He didn't consider who you were as long as his urges were satisfied. Even women leading a normal or less risky lifestyle, such as prostitutes, were not safe. To put things into perspective, this man was able to dodge investigators until his murder of Dita Gadzari on December 1st to 2nd, 1979, followed by Valerie and Street on May 5th, 1980. That was when police figured out the similarities between the two murders and began to suspect that a serial killer was on the loose. Cottingham had not been convicted of any murders prior to 1979. He wasn't even a suspect. If not for a certain attempted killing, which I will discuss later in the video, the police would not have been able to arrest him or find what linked him to all those gruesome murders before 1979. In fact, some cases remained unsolved until he confessed. You can imagine how careful this man was to hide his tracks all those years. I am your host, Jonah, and this is the full story of Richard Francis Cottingham, famously known as the Torso Killer. Born in the Bronx with two siblings, Cottingham's upbringing was fairly normal apart from his father's alleged abuse. His mother was a homemaker while his father worked. You could describe it as a functional family. Apart from the difficulty in making friends after they moved from New York to New Jersey when he was 12, Cottingham graduated and landed a job at the same company where his father worked. Although when he turned 20, he moved to a new job at the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association as a computer operator and got married in 1972 at the age of 23. He would have 2 children, and at this point, it seemed that we had a normal family man. What could possibly go wrong? Well, Cottingham was very good at hiding his true colors from society. He was truly a master when it came to blending in, hiding his ill intent and violence from everyone. Despite the murders committed before, let's start with the one that launched the hunt for this monster. In December 1979, a normal day like any other, Dita Gadzari, a prostitute from Kuwait, and her friend were on the lookout for their next customer as usual. Only this time, it would be their last when they were approached by a pasty-faced man who managed to take them to the Travelodge Motor Inn in New York, promising them money for sex. There, the poor souls would face their demise as he spent the night torturing and mutilating both of them, removing their heads and hands and taking them with him, then setting the room and the bodies on fire. Luckily, a staff member from the hotel was quick to notice the smoke coming from the room and quickly alerted the fire department, thinking it was just an arson. When the fire crew arrived and extinguished the flames, one of them was shocked to his core when he discovered the headless bodies of 2 women. He would state later, "I've never come across something like that. I hope I never do again." With that, the room turned into a crime scene. Unfortunately, the fire left little to no evidence, and no one was convicted. Only Dita's body was identified. Her friend remains a Jane Doe to this day. Following this murder, Cottingham's thirst was far from being quenched, and he would strike again in 1980, taking the life of Valerie and Street. Her body was found in a motel room in a similar state to Dita's, tortured, raped, burned, with no sign of her head or hands. As before, no evidence was found aside from the handcuffs and mouth gag he used on her. However, due to the similarities between the 2 cases, investigators were quick to establish a link between them, making the thought of a serial killer on the loose inevitable. Fast forward to May 15th. Police departments received yet another call from a hotel in Manhattan South after they found the burned body of Ann Rayner in one of their rooms. The police were quick to act, but nothing new was discovered apart from the presence of her head and hands, which raises more questions than answers. Did the killer change his style of murder, or is it just a copycat? Luckily, these questions didn't last long, as the fateful day of the monster's arrest was nearing. On May 22nd, only 7 days after Valerie's death, Cottingham, apparently with a thirst that grew with each kill, was not satisfied with Valerie's death. He again lured another prostitute named Leslie and Odell to the Quality Inn Motel in Hasbrook Heights, the same motel where he killed Valerie. A bold move, more like a stupid and arrogant one. Clearly, after what happened in their hotel, the management was more alert and cautious with every client they welcomed in. But Cottingham's arrogance got the best of him to the point of thinking he would never be caught. Luckily for Leslie, the security staff heard her agonizing screams and quickly called the police, putting Cottingham behind bars. At first, our psycho denied everything, claiming that the whole thing was consensual and that Leslie had agreed to everything. If not for the timing, given the recent discovery of Valerie in the same hotel, the police might have acted differently. But this was not the case. They were smart and didn't hesitate to order a full search of his house. There lay the calamity, the key that solved all these mysteries that had kept police deprived of sleep all these years. In his house lay a room unlike any other. That place was the trophy room of the torso killer. Every investigator's dream. There lay every lead and every piece of evidence needed to lock this monster away for good. Among them was an apartment key belonging to 26-year-old nurse Mary Ann Carr, who he abducted from a parking lot near her apartment on December 15, 1977. He proceeded to take her into a motel where he assaulted and killed her. A toy koala bear and a pair of earrings that had belonged to Valerie and Street were also found, along with jewelry belonging to Dita Gazzari and Ann Rayner. Thus, the police started building their case with all this evidence at hand. After his arrest, more victims came forward to testify against this monster, recounting all the hell he made them go through, such as Karen Schilt and Susan Geiger, whom he drugged and raped before trying to kill them and then leaving them for dead. Thankfully for both cases, the women barely survived, but due to the impact of those horrific events, they didn't remember much, and at that time, their cases went cold. However, nothing lasts forever. They finally came forward to witness and receive their justice from this man. With that, the reign of the torso killer came to its conclusion. But what still bothers me is why he was not sentenced to execution. Why just life imprisonment? After all these hideous crimes that were set in stone, he did commit. He did not receive the death penalty. And the guts he has. You know that after his arrest, Cottingham claimed he had killed more than 100 victims, including Nancy Vogel, whom he strangled in 1967. He even confessed to 3 more murders in 2020. Yes, this monster is still alive, serving his sentence in jail after killing 11 women or even more. No one knows when or if he will confess to more murders. And with our case today finished, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video and stay safe. See you soon.